Sox fans, hey, welcome back. It's Good Guys Talk Back. I am Nick Murawski. This is a fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast. We do this Sunday nights at 9:15 on our YouTube channel. This is episode 274, if you can believe it. We took last week off in honor of Memorial Day, and the Sox won one game since the last time we talked. So we've got some things.
Are we going to break that in just that one game, or going to focus the next 45 minutes to an hour on that one game?
Pitch by pitch, sequence by sequence. There's been a lot said by our fearless leader, Pedro Grifol. There's an interesting series in Milwaukee, to say the least, and we've got the Crosstown Classic coming up here this week. So a lot always to get to. With me, as always, my best friend, diehard Sox fan, Pat Hester. Hello, sir.
Buddy, we're just in the middle of one of those pesky 11-game losing streaks. Let's not worry about that at the moment. Obviously, according to our new announcer, we're just catching teams at the bad time. So as long as we can catch some teams not at the good time, we should be able to turn this around and get this season back on track.
Hello, Peyton, Trey, Sydney, Clutch, Luke. Thank you so much, all of you jumping in live. Bring us all of your takes, whatever they are. We'll try to get to them and put them in the old Sox blender here. But you're right, Pat. Schriffen said it. Just catching everybody at the wrong time. He said a couple other things.
Never want to wake up the people.
Yeah,
I mean it's amazing, and I don't want to start out the show crapping on Schriffen, but he's become quite a lightning rod, or maybe out of his element. I'm not really sure what to really say.
The stuff with Tommy Pham, we're gonna get to that later. I had to wince. I definitely had
a little bit of a cringe.
Man.
He's getting a little cringy. Is that fair to say?
Cringy is a popular word. A lot of people are saying it. A lot of people are talking about it. Cringy. Yeah.
I know. But this is what we have, Nick, between the sell the team signs that have traveled all the way up to Milwaukee to the Schriffen continued comments. It's something, man. I'll tell you, but this is where we at. This is where we live. And this is what we got to deal with for the next seemingly foreseeable future.
100 and something maybe games left in the year, if anybody's counting. Sox, as we record here on June 2nd, are 15-45, folks. Sox have lost 11 in a row. They're 24 and a half games back in that ever-forgiving AL Central. The run diff, minus 138. I mean, I had to do a double take on this. Minus 138. Sox are by far the worst team in all of baseball, but you don't need me to tell you that. You've been watching the games. This run differential, Pat, is on pace for history, my man. I mean, it is historically bad. Sox, again, have only won one game since the last time we talked, and that was 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's these losing streaks and everything. I mean, we're getting to where the records are now. Now this is, Alexei, yes, history. I mean, we're getting to that point.
Well, it's the thing about it is, Nick, it's drawn me into not even really worried about what's happening on the field. Now I'm finding myself searching out videos of Ozzie Guillen talking after the game, because that's obviously a lot more entertaining than what's happening on the field.
He's got
and it makes me remember the good old days when we had an actual leader to lead this group, and you were excited about it. I happened to just happen upon a video on YouTube over the weekend, and I'm scrolling through like a lot of people do when they're bored and just scrolling through YouTube. And here it is, the inning in Boston, game 3, and here comes El Duque versus the Red Sox, Veritek, and eventually I can't even think of the rest of the team, but it doesn't matter.
Damon,
you've got the bases loaded, and you've got a situation, and I'm just drawn to that. I'm drawn to the good old days, Nick, and I'm drawn to watching the camera going and going on Ozzie and watching him with his passion and leadership and talking. And I know it's a playoff game, and it's different than a game in June and different from the situation that we're facing right now, but that's what I'm drawn to. I'm like, let me just take myself out of my body for a moment and go back into a time when there was joy in Mudville. And I go and I look, I go, that's someone that should be leading this ball club. That's someone that should not be not leading this ball club. There's a reason why we love this team during that era and that time, is because if nothing else, you could get behind the leadership of that manager. And now you're at where you're at now, letting guys do what they're doing and letting it be okay, and letting it be okay for a long time, and letting that clubhouse really deteriorate from the inside out without having a solution or deciding that you want to make a change, because it's just easier. It's easier to let this general manager hire this manager, because it's going to be a quicker turnaround than hiring from the outside and get somebody from, that doesn't know this organization and give them a whole year before we have to turn it around. Yet we're going to have to do it again eventually, Nick. So I didn't mean to go off on a soliloquy, but that's White Sox fan. I'm going back to inning in Game 3 of 2005 versus the Red Sox, right? And it's just unbelievable. I can't believe I lived that. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't even remember how I felt during that moment, because it felt like so long ago.
Relevant White Sox baseball, Pat.
Yeah.
Like that's really where I go to, is like, Trey brought it up here in the comments, and I posted it, and he went back and watched the Field of Dreams game, which was not too long ago. What is that? Approaching 3 years, which you think about it. Wow. The lather we were in as Sox fans at that point, and how great that was. And, all the cast of characters that are gone and what has happened to this organization. And so, during these situations, during these stretches, and it's only going to get worse, especially after the trade deadline. I mean, this team's going to be completely in the corner. And it's going to be tough. It is really going to be tough. You got to take breaks, man. And like, where was their joy? When did I have that? Because it's tough to remember it on your own. You need the video almost, because it's few and far between. I get you.
And it's like, okay, this is why I'm a fan of this team, because of those small moments. And then I find myself watching videos of Hawk getting upset at Angel Hernandez, which is also fun. Which is timely. And the cap to Angel Hernandez, who's now retired, and who's probably missing another call, even though he's not even on the field. So it is what it is, Nick, and it's almost comical at this point, but. That's why this is why we do this every week, because I feel better when I talk to you, and I feel better when I see the comments from the group out there, because we still do exist. Yeah. We still do exist. Even though nobody else wants to care about us, even our ownership, we care about each other, and eventually someday it will change, and we'll have the joys like we experienced back in the past.
Oh, I hope you're right, man. Want to welcome in Kevin, and thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. Mailman Jack, good to have you. Howard, Sydney. It's misery loves company. We are, I think, a close-knit group as a fan base. There's not a lot of us, or maybe they are, but they're a silent majority. But like we're in it. We're in it together, and you got to find your people. Find the folks where you can kind of, just vent about this stuff, what's going on. Now, I got to ask you, Pat, because I don't think I've completely changed my mentality lately, but I feel with all this history stuff and the Sox being epically bad, I have personally felt like, you know what, if you're going to be bad, just be the best bad you possibly can be. Be the best garbage, be historically bad, be remembered for how bad you're going to be. Now, a part of me thinks that, well, if they're this bad and they're historically bad and they're laughable, Getz is going to have to wear it. This is going to be attached to Reinsdorf. There's no way they're going to be able to keep Grifol around. Now, I know as a Sox fan, being around long enough, that doesn't actually, that's not going to happen necessarily. Okay. That's just, the math doesn't add up usually. They absolutely can retain Grifol. He's got another year, I think, on his contract. Jerry, I don't think is selling at all. He's going down with this. And Getz is going to be here for the long run. He's Jerry's boy. So I ask you, are you in that feeling of like, you know what? just go down, burn, just
Yeah.
be horrible at this point.
Here's the thing, and I'll address maybe the Chris Getz part first. I will give Getz a little bit longer of an opportunity to prove himself, because he came in and he's really in teardown mode, right? And he's going to be in a mode of, like Rick was a couple of years ago, 2016, 2017, Rick Hahn, when Rick was finally, quote unquote, given the opportunity to generally manage his team without, Kenny Williams butting his nose into it, even though we know he routinely would. I'll give Chris Getz the opportunity to hire a second manager and go, okay, this was not the right manager for this group. Obviously, we put a lot more faith and stock into this guy. I'll give him one more manager to really prove himself. And I'll give him some time with the players that he gets back and whatever trades he makes, during this, trade deadline. I'll give Chris Getz, regardless of the fact of his resume and knowing that he really didn't deserve the job in the first place, I'll give him a little more leash just to see what he can do, because, regardless of what you say, it wasn't his hire. Pedro Grifol was not Chris Getz hire. That was a Rick Hahn hire. So
it was a Rick Hahn hire, but I think Chris Getz had a lot of influence.
100% agree with that. I 100% agree, but ultimately it wasn't his decision. In terms of, Jerry, Jerry gets the vote of confidence from the manager. We hear the same old thing. Nobody wants to win more than Jerry does.
Oh,
Nobody
we're going
wants
to
to win more than Jerry does.
Lord. Yeah.
I don't know, that it just must be, when you get your key card, into the building on that day, and your company expense card and your computer and your laptop, that must be like taped on your office door. Like, make sure you say this at least a couple times a year. You have to say that nobody wants to win more than Jerry.
Especially if you're horrible at your job. Like, if things aren't going the right way and you're not getting the results, even when you double down and try to run it back, say these lines. They'll get you some extra rope.
But I don't really have much faith in anything. I don't really want it to like go down the gutter and just be the worst of the worst, because there's no value in it for me. The rules and how they've changed, we've talked about it before.
Yep.
There's no value in being the worst in baseball now. I think the best they can get is the 10th pick.
Sure.
So, I want to take it, the little adage of game by game. I'm going to try and take joy out of the one or two wins they get a week, if that, right? Mostly because of my kids. My son Gavin is still watching and upset when they lose.
Sure.
Hey, Dad, did they win tonight? No, they lost. I can't believe it. And he's like upset about it. So I'll just take the one game. Did they win this singular game or not? Or did they lose it or not? And that's it. Now, I'm not going to worry about what happened the last 11 games. I'm not going to worry about where they're at in the standings. I'm just going to look at this one singular game and hope that they win, because I'm much happier when they win. There's no value in them losing and being historically bad right now, because the ownership isn't going to change. We can put up all the signs and the bozo pictures that we want of Jerry Ryan.
You're right.
I'm okay with people doing that, and I love it.
Oh,
and
sure.
I love to see
I love it.
But it's not going to change what he's going to do. And it means nothing. So I'd like him to win a game here or there. Is that wrong?
It's not wrong. I get, nobody's wrong. Nobody's right. This is just, this is the beauty of this particular podcast. It's fan centric. It's we ask, and talk hypotheticals, and I'm not telling anybody at all, how to fan, and you do what you need to do. I've just noticed myself going down this avenue. I think as Sox fans, whether it is a successful year or it is a troubling year or it is a pathetic year, whatever the case may be, you find yourself having to choose roads, or at least I do, of like, which road do I want to go down? Do I want to be satisfied, or do I want more? Do I want to just kind of passively watch? Or do I really want to see this thing burn down because I want change? And a part of me, this is why we call this kind of Sox therapy, is talking these issues out, is I think by it being so bad, so ugly, so nasty, so embarrassing, there might be more change. But the other part of me that's been a Sox fan forever and has watched all of it knows that that's not reality. Like, it still can get bad. So I absolutely understand, celebrate the minor little moments. And, we discussed, having an opportunity to go to a game and just being there in the moment. Like, I'm here just enjoying whatever this is, taking away these memories, whether it's a giveaway or it's a fireworks night or whatever, you're with family, friends, whatever. You got to find those things. But, you know, I read these articles that are coming out over the last week, and whether it's the Tribune or the Sun Times or other publications, and, you know, some of it's, you know, clickbait. I don't know how many people outside of like diehard Sox fans are like, well, I'd really like to click on this and really read more about the White Sox, but it's out there. And
it's just for you. They're like,
really,
I know Nick Murawski is going to click on this.
He's going to click on this.
This is the guy. We got him.
And these op-eds and what have you are, you know, the Sox are horrible. Now what? How can things change? How did this happen? This is the world they created.
Yeah.
The White Sox organization, Jerry, from the top down, created all of this. This is the monster. You know, Dr. Frankenstein, this is your monster. Now deal with it. It's not a how did this happen, or you systematically did this. You know, we all watched it. If you've been paying attention, you know, after Hahn and Williams left and everything that has gone, even before that, you know, bringing in Grifol. And so my stomach turns when I read that kind of stuff. And because there is no mystery. We all know how this happened, and it's really ugly. And yes, there's bright spots in the minor leagues. Yes, Birmingham is doing some interesting stuff, and the pitching is there. And I've been down that road before. Okay. I'm not, but I'm still going to try to be optimistic that maybe this time will be different. But on this team, on this professional baseball team, this 35th in Shields, the Chicago White Sox team, it is a hot mess right now. And, you know, as a Bears fan, as a big Bears fan, you know that, you know, the Bears run this city. They run this sports city. The Bears have got it all year round. And once training camp starts up, you know, it's already starting to obviously tremor, and people are getting excited, of course. But once training camp starts in late July, and you've got the hard knocks, and you've got all the stuff going on, you know, the Sox are absolutely irrelevant right now. They're going to be so pushed in the corner, and Bears are going to just steamroll just about anything in their path. And that is obviously the White Sox.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, there's a reason why, you know, media companies put a lot of time, effort, and dollars into putting more content out there around the Bears, because that's what people are drawn to, and that's what people care about. Now, if either of the baseball teams were somewhat relevant, and I put either of them because the Cubs are mired in mediocrity right now and going through their own problems, you know, there's nothing in the way of the runway of the Bears right now. So if you're going to go out there, and I know there's a lot of them out there, and I wouldn't say you're one of them, Nick, but you're there. You want more Sox content on your media outlets, and
yeah,
I get it.
I
do. But listen, it's a who's paying the bills, who's keeping the lights on at home for me.
Yeah.
And I've got to service my customers. My customers want more Bears content, and right now there's no hotter story. Maybe in all of, well, I should say that bad. I don't want to say all of sports, but at least in this town, and probably in the NFL, just if you're talking about NFL, more of a sexy thing to talk about than the Chicago Bears. So, you know, there's no room at the inn for the Chicago White Sox right now. And if you're looking for Backpage, and you're looking for clicks, and you're looking for people to consume content regarding the Chicago White Sox after probably June 15th, I got news for you. The only thing that's going to really draw anybody to pay attention to this team is around the trade deadline. And then you're going to talk about, well, what did we get in prospects? Who is this guy? Who's that going to be? And how are we going to watch this guy on YouTube to see as it bats in the minor leagues over the next several years? So that's what you have to look forward to. And I don't know. I really don't know what the appetite is for Jerry Reinsdorf to continue down this road. Obviously, we knew he wasn't a big fan of tear down, rebuild back in the day, because he never allowed it to happen. He was much happier with let's rent players, let's be around 70 to 85 wins. And as long as we're right there and we've got a sideshow, we've got a circus act out there, we've got an Andrew Jones coming in, to put on a White Sox uniform. We've got a Ken Griffey Jr. that we're able to exercise and bring into a White Sox uniform. We've got all these guys that have great players of their back in their day to be able to be White Sox at some point. He was okay with that. And that's what we kind of got used to. It's like, okay, well, maybe ifs and buts and candy and nuts, and we'll have a Merry Christmas. But that's just not what's going on now. Now it's been like rebuild and bring it back up, have some success. And now you're tearing it down to rebuild again. I don't know what his appetite is for it again. And he's talked about wanting to try and win, whether that's real or not, trying to win again before he's dead. So I just don't know if he's going to have the patience right now and it may be a lot of, listen, let's bring in this guy and this guy and this guy on short-term contracts, and let's just be at least relevant next year. That's kind of what I envision. It's not going to be long-term success, though. It's not going to be built on anything that's going to be here for a long time. But that's probably what we're going to get, I would imagine, because I would
imagine. Just if you've been paying attention since 2017, 2018, they really rested on their young guys, the prospects. Let's try to lock them up. Let's hype up the young guys. Let's gather as many young guys as we can have. Look at this arsenal that we have. And you're not going to spend at the top of the free agency. You're not going to spend top dollar. You're not going to really solve problems. No way. You're not going to overspend, especially on pitching. So it's going to be little moves here and there as they wait for a lot of these young guys and whatever happens at the trade deadline, whatever's in the system, whatever's in the pipeline, and they'll hype those guys up. And we got this core that we're developing, and that's what you're going to see. But, what does Jerry have the stomach for? Is he even paying attention right now? Where is he? I don't know those questions, but boy, you talk about sexy stuff a few minutes ago. Pedro Grifol getting all kinds of sexy with his ass kissing of Jerry Reinsdorf this past week. This one, I'm telling you, I read this article and I don't guffaw. I don't groan out loud when reading an article too often, but I was just I had to put it down. I couldn't read the whole article in one sitting because it just, I literally was verbally just groaning at how upsetting all of this stuff was that Pedro was spewing out. So this was an excerpt from an article this past week on Pedro Grifol's relationship with King Jerry and how everything is going right now. I've known Jerry for a year and a half, Grifol said. Nobody wants to win more than he does. I know that for a fact because I'm the one who gets phone calls and I talk to him. I get text messages. He is 100% committed to winning, and he is extremely knowledgeable about the game of baseball. He's not just a fan. The questions he asks, he knows exactly what's going on. He knows the game. You're not in the game for 44 years around 1,000 coaches sitting in on meetings and listen and listen and listen and watch and not know the game. He's passionate. He's extremely competitive. A lot of that was just absolute nonsense. And yet this was something that Grifol said voluntarily, mind you, we think. That he had to come out and say all this stuff. And that's just part of this article. There's more. This isn't even the Pedro Grifol quote of the week. Okay, there's other stuff. This is just, you got to talk about it right now because you brought it up at the top of the episode. It's like, here we go. Someone's got to be talking about and defending Jerry's commitment to win. It is always on Jerry's terms. Okay, Jerry might really want to win. Okay, Jerry might be competitive. But he does it on his terms, in his way. Okay, there's these self-imposed thresholds that he's willing to I'm only going to go up to here, or I'm only going to go this far. I mean, these are my boundaries. I am not going to adapt and move with the rest of baseball. No way. This is how I'm going to do it. And I'm really competitive, and I really want to win on my terms. Well, that's not how it's played anymore. Things have evolved since you took over in 81. Things have changed. And Pedro getting down on a knee here, genuflecting in front of the statue of Jerry and spewing this out is just absolutely insane.
Well, I just wonder, I would love to be on the other end of that text message from Jerry Reinsdorf. Is it you up? Is that the first thing Jerry says to Pedro?
I love that he says, I talk to him. So This is almost like a wellness check. Like he's also like letting us know, like public, that he's okay. He's alive. He's calling and I'm talking to him. He's listening. He is alert.
Boy, that with those two brain children in the room, I mean, how could we be as bad as we are when you've got Jerry telling Pedro what he should and shouldn't be doing? That's amazing. Listen, man, the fact that Jerry Reinsdorf has allowed this all to happen under his watch, and somebody had mentioned, I can't remember, and I apologize for not catching the name of who put it in the chat of, I can't believe this guy gives zero fucks about, and excuse my language for any kids listening, about, what's going on and how this affects his legacy. People don't change, Nick. People don't really change, especially people, over 80 years old. They're not going to all of a sudden go, I'm going to turn over a new leaf today. I'd be damned with what might happen with my pocketbook. I'm not going to allow this to happen anymore. And I'm just going to be in go for it mode. Even though I haven't been in go for it mode for over 40 years of owning this team, now I'm going to decide to be in go for it mode. People just don't change like that. It's just going to be, they're so narcissistic to think that because they're so successful in whatever business they've been doing and however many dollars they have and how many cars they drive and how many private planes they take and how many great dinners they have with people and how many relationships they have in baseball and how much knowledge they have about the history of the game. They just think, I know more than everybody else. Nobody else is as smart as I am because look at me. Look at what I have and the success I've had in my life. Who's going to tell me what to do? I know what's right and I know what's wrong. And this is how it goes. Now, everybody, please fall in line and tell everybody else around you how much I care about baseball, which I also don't think is ultimately a lie. He may be very passionate about it. He may care a whole lot. He's just too stupid to know how to change it, or too stubborn, or both.
Stubborn. I would say absolutely stubborn. But Grifol went on and did say he's a smart business guy and baseball guy, Pat. And believe it or not, he's a good evaluator as well.
Well, a good evaluator of what?
Exactly. That is the ultimate question, because not of managers, because Pedro Grifol is garbage. And I don't think of GMs. I really don't. I'm sorry. I know we should give Chris Getz, more time, but Chris Getz should have never been the GM, should have never been put in place. Some would even say in terms of play-by-play guys, obviously Schriffen catching a ton of heat this season, more this weekend with the Tommy Pham situation. And, this is all under Jerry's watch, so.
Because he's so disillusioned. He thinks this is what people want. People want this is the guy.
Or I'm going to tell them what they want. This is what you should want. This is what I believe you should want. And how dare you question what I have given you and provided to you as a White Sox fan? Because, I could take this team away and I could ship it off somewhere if I don't get what I want in terms of a new stadium. I mean, Sydney mentioned it in the chats. I mean, I haven't heard a lot of new stadium chatter at all. I think that is on the back burner. I even think the Bears situation is on the back burner.
It's all on the back burner because I don't think JB is just going to allow people that are billionaires to take public funding. He's going to tell them, listen, you got money, you can do whatever you want, build it. I don't care, but you're not going to take public dollars for it. So until that gets figured out and hashed out and how that all gets divided up, that nothing's happening with stadiums. You're going to be delusioned if you think there's going to be a new stadium for either of these teams in the near future.
So your Sox are 15-45, and we knew this was going to be a rough season. I think you and I were talking rough season, and there was a lot of other folks that we might interact with that saw what was happening, really paying attention, and said, this just doesn't add up. Marginal moves. They're really hoping that they can sell it and win with gamers and TWTW and passion and playing the game the right way and this FAST acronym and all of that stuff. And well, when you started looking at, well, what's your rotation look like? And what kind of bullpen do you have? And where's your power? Where's your offense coming from? We slowly, I think a lot of folks were like, oh, yeah, that might be a problem. But that AL Central, you never know. Well, the AL Central is, completely left the Chicago White Sox in the dust. And that was all just a bunch of BS. That was told in August, September from Getz, quick turnaround. I think we can be competitive. We've raised the IQ, the baseball IQ, and I think we're going to reap the rewards this season. You'll really see that. All nonsense, absolute nonsense, because when the rubber meets the road, and you're starting to play major league, but you get exposed. Okay. Your lack of talent, you got to have talent, by the way. At the end of the day, you got to have good players. How about having some good players, maybe some damn good players? Okay. That's how you can, really push other teams around and like prove that you should be here. Not all this lip service that we got over the offseason, but that's what we got. And now you're seeing the results. So again, I'm not surprised where they are. I'm kind of, I guess I'm thrown off at how what they wanted to do, which I thought was on the margins. Okay. Yeah. We knew they were going to be a pretty rough team, but the marginal stuff, like, okay, you're going to be smarter on the base paths. You're going to play better defense. You're going to play a better brand of baseball. Okay. I don't know how many more wins that's going to result, but I'll watch it. I'll look for that. And that has been bad, so that's what's really the real troubling part, and that's why I think I don't know if Grifol lasts till July 1st. I think Kevin asked it in the chat. I don't know. It could go either way. It really depends on what they think. And by they, I mean, Getz, Barfield, Jerry, the crack squad, the geniuses there in the front office. What do they want? What do they expect? If they don't expect much and they're like, look, this is a lost waste year, just keep Grifol around. We don't care. Who cares? Then Grifol is going to stick around. If they in their gut are really trying to develop something like purposeful, not just accidental, but purposeful for the future, you have to realize Grifol has no business in the future. So get rid of that now. Get rid of it now and start moving, in the right direction. And you might even not even see the results if Montoya gets put in as manager. You might not see that. You probably won't. But it's a better direction than having Grifol around, who's completely out of his element and is no future with the White Sox in my mind.
I would think if you're a player on this team, and again, I also don't want to put all of this on Pedro either. The players still have to play the game. They still have to execute things. I get all that, right? So this isn't like 100%. It's all Pedro's fault. And the only reason why we've won 15 games and which I cannot believe that I just saw this from Luke Maldonado has 7 hits this year, which makes me almost fall out of my chair laughing. It's not just Pedro, right? It's got to be the whole thing, right? But if I was a player at this point, and especially if I've been a player on this team for the last 2 years, at some point, Pedro is going to get let go. And if I'm a player, I'm like, oh, thank the Lord, this jackaloon is out. I don't care who is managing this team, as long as this guy's not around every day, because I have zero respect for him. He's out of his element, as you had mentioned. He didn't deserve to have this opportunity in the first place. His own team didn't want him to manage the team when he was there with the Kansas City Royals. There's no reason why he provides zero value to us at all. He hasn't motivated us. He hasn't taught us anything about, being better players. And my career has actually gone backwards since he's been around. So I would welcome a different voice and a different change. But I'm with you. Regardless of who is, pulling the strings or writing up the lineup card, things are going to change much because of the lack of talent, as you mentioned earlier. This team is bereft of real baseball talent. There is zero power in this lineup. And if you think when Luis Robert Jr. comes back, things are going to get any better, probably not, because there's nothing surrounded him to protect him in the lineup. And dare I say, the guy hasn't proven to really stay healthy for very long periods of time. So the next hamstring injury is just around the corner for him. So there's really not much to look forward to. In fact, I would trade as many of these guys as you can, as fast as you can before their next injury.
As Drew Bogues would say, what's the value? Where's the value? Who has value? I mean, on Friday in the Milwaukee series, you had Fetty on the mound. I think there's some value with that guy. He's pitched pretty well. I've actually liked some of his outings. He can get it going, and then sometimes third time through the lineup, as is the case. You got to watch out. Friday, Sox got punished pretty good. 20 plus hits by the Milwaukee Brewers. 20 plus hits. Corey Jukes is another guy that I kind of like watching. When I see him, the ball seems to jump off his bat. I mean, he's got some energy about him. I don't know what the future is or what he's going to bring, but kind of an exciting guy. Like, hey, I got a chance. I'm mixing it up a little bit here, but that was not a great start to the series. Now, the Sox in Milwaukee, Pat, you and I not a stranger to Milwaukee. You and I have been in Milwaukee plenty of times to see the White Sox and Brewers. You had your bachelor party at a Brewers White Sox games many moons ago.
People tell me I was there. Yes,
I think we all needed to be reminded. Thank God there was no social media. Holy hell, that would have gone sideways. But it was a bachelor party, and it was Milwaukee, and we had a good time. I think the Sox ended up winning that game. If I
oh yes, they did. You were sleeping.
Yes,
you took a nap.
It was
most of that game.
It was the summer. It was hot.
It was. You just need a little 6.5 inning nap.
It happens.
Which do you have the photo of you napping somewhere?
I do. I do still have the photo. Yeah, that was a long time ago, a lifetime ago almost. It
was a different Nick.
That was different life decisions back then.
If you could tweet out that picture of you, I think with it.
Should I really do that? Should I put that out there now that the Milwaukee series is over? If this is,
this is how we all feel. This is how we all feel. Asleep at the wheel. And with about 18 beer cups stacked on your head.
You're going to peer pressure me into putting that photo out. Okay.
I know you have it.
I have it somewhere. That was young Nick, as Clutch said. That was young Nick. That was like, I don't want to say I was Tommy Pham, Nick, but if you said something against the White Sox back then, watch out, man. I had a lot of liquid courage, and I was not behaving responsibly. And
there were a lot of things that you thought were fighting words, but they weren't.
They really weren't. But it was anti-White Sox.
You come up to you and go, "Hey, you're a White Sox fan? Hey, what are you talking about the White Sox for?
Stay out of White Sox business. Stay out of White Sox business." Yeah, I had some issues that I had to work through. And thank God I had some around. I had some very supportive and big and strong friends that were able to help me out of some jams. So that's what I have.
But anyway, I digress. I forgot where you're going with the Milwaukee thing. You brought it up, and then
I just it seems like everybody had a good time going over there. It's a fairly short drive from Chicago. I like the stadium. I really like the stadium. Plenty of parking, a lot of tailgating opportunities. You're going to eat and drink well. It's been a couple of years since I got up there to see the Sox. Milwaukee didn't make it this past weekend, but hopefully everybody that did had a safe time, made it home safe, saw some rough baseball. Started off on Friday, of course. On Saturday, you get word of Andrew Vaughn. He wasn't playing in a couple games, and he's got I think a ring finger or an index finger or something that is injured. So we haven't seen him for a little while. He's resting, which is probably best for Andrew Vaughn, and Ben Attendee with some ankle tendonitis. He hit a home run and then he left the game, which is a very White Sox thing to do in 2024. That's it for me, everybody. That was about as good as it's going to get here. So he's obviously been an absolute mess, and who knows this ankle tendonitis, if he's going to use it as an excuse one day down the line. So he's on the IL.
Should use it as an excuse. I would. Wouldn't you?
I'd use absolutely everything.
I would say, my dog died. I've got this ankle tendonitis. I've got all these problems. I just got poison ivy. I really can't do anything properly right now because of the poison ivy and the ankle tendonitis. I'm emotionally distraught because of my dog died earlier in the season. I really can't get it all together. And I just need some time off, and I really apologize for my horrid start. I texted you the other day, Nick. I don't know why this popped in my head. I woke up on Friday morning for work thinking that I had to interview Andrew Benintendi. You ever one of those dreams where you're dreaming and it's so vivid and it seems so real, and then you wake up and you have to talk yourself into the fact that you just had a dream and you really don't have to really do this? Or like I always have to dream that I have the dream that I wake up and have to go to school. Like I didn't finish high school or something or college, and I have a test coming up and I have to talk myself into going, no, you graduated a long time ago.
That
Pat.
was Pat. That was like my tenure with Locked On White Sox. I feel like there was just I was kind of like in a dream. I was in a
I really have to do
state.
I thought I had to interview Andrew Benintendi on Friday, and I thought, what in God's name am I going to ask this guy about? How am I going to skirt around the fact that he's one of the worst players in the history of the game right now, and he's making all this money? Does he feel bad for the $75 million contract that he signed? Probably not. He's probably laughing.
I would have asked him, will you give any of it back? Like, what if you had an opportunity?
Would you give it back? You're not giving it back.
Put him on the spot. Say it's for charity. It's all for charity.
Just say you're playing for free, and you should give it away because you're so horrid.
Not all of it, but give some of it. What if you said, would you give $5 million to White Sox charity?
How many $1 million?
Ask him if he would have given $5 million to White Sox charity.
Oh, he should. At least buy everybody a hot dog. I think he should.
Now there's a fun question. Like Andrew Benintendi, you've been absolutely awful. And what do you say with your $75 million? You buy everybody at the ballpark the next day game a hot dog. Like they go up with a little voucher with a little coupon. I know exactly. It's all
you buy a hot dog. Wait for. Do they do Wednesday? Is it $1 Wednesday?
They got rid of that a long time ago.
Oh, Jerry didn't like that.
That's the problem. Jerry was not up for that. If Pedro's going to go off, kissing ass to Jerry, at least put in a good word for the dollar dogs. Like the old compliment sandwich. Like, kiss his ass and slip in maybe, hey, the fans could really use that dollar hot dog, and then go back to kissing his ass again.
They've been telling me, because I can hear them, because there's only a couple of people there. They're saying, Pedro, ask for the dollar hot dog. But no, I wouldn't want that, though. I wouldn't want that from Andrew Benintendi. I don't want the dollar hot dog. I want, well, used to be, I don't know what the brand is now. Is it Hebrew National? Kosher's Best, whatever they are. I want those with the onions and the mustard. That's what I want. Or what would even be better, Nick? The sausage with the red sauce and the onions and the green pepper, whatever that one is that now my mouth is just watering thinking about it. That's what he should invest in for $75 million over 5 years.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons to go to the game. So some of the food items, I'm telling you, that Italian sausage with the marinara and the sweet peppers that I stumbled upon it last season, and the lettering is just small. Like you got to ask for marinara, which is why we probably have missed it all these years, because it's not well advertised. Surprise, surprise. But Saturday also saw Gavin Sheets' first home run off of a lefty, Pat. How about that?
This year or ever?
Ever.
Is that right?
I'm pretty
Is that
sure.
Right?
Now that I'm saying it, I'm starting to doubt myself, but I'm pretty sure it was his first home run ever off of a left-handed pitcher. He wasn't getting a lot of opportunities because of the old platoon, and now he's getting more opportunities. And interesting what happens. Maybe he's able to produce.
Well, that is certainly interesting. I wonder if we're still bullish on
we are not. Well, I'm not. I could speak for us. Maybe
that's wonderful. I'm really happy. A good kid. Like I said, I've met him before. He's a really good guy. I don't mean to dog on him all the time, but he's just a guy, Nick. He is a guy.
He's just a dude.
He's not anything that you're going to build your team around. He's not anything I don't think anybody's even going to want at the trade deadline. Like, oh, look at this massive power from Gavin Sheets. You really he's just a guy that's going to be a mediocre player in this league. He's going to probably bounce around from team to team, trying to make squads, and that's fine. I would love to have that career, Nick. And you would love to have that career. I just want to be a guy on a team, Just pay me the minimum, whatever it is. I just want to try and play baseball the rest of my life. He's not going to be anything special. And the fact that this organization thought he could be is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's been a problem for a long period of time. Someone that's not a problem right now is Garrett Crochet. 103 pitches, I think, on Saturday. That's a career high. He's fun to watch, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's appointment TV. He hit a bump, which is expected. I mean, he's in uncharted territory right now in this first year of being a starter and the innings and the exposure. But his stuff, he's got some nasty stuff. And I hate playing the game. It's not even a game. It's more of a maybe a torturous game of is he going to be dealt? What are they going to do with this guy? Are they going to manage this guy? I don't want to think about it, but I will say this. I want the Sox to be so purposeful in pitching. Like, I want them to develop pitching, go after pitching in terms of the future as we move along here. I want it to be done with a purpose and intention. And I would like them to retain Crochet and use him as like, this is someone we want in the system. We want to hold on to this guy. We want to take care of this guy. I mean, he's fun to watch.
I would, and somebody said, O'Brien did, you're going to have to shut him down and shut him down eventually. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I just had the thought in my mind, which is just a really ridiculous comment when you think about it now, but ride him hard and put him away wet, right? Let him go as long as that arm will let him go, and then shut him down. And if it's for the rest of the season, it's for the rest of the season.
It is after 10 p.m. So just go ahead and
just
cinch it up and strap it on.
That's an old officism. Ride him hard, put him away wet.
Mm-hmm.
And
say it again. Sure.
Wow. How many times can I get away with it? Will we get shut down by anybody?
No. The podcast.
I already put an F-bomb in this episode. We don't usually cuss on this show, but I decided to. He is appointment television. He is somebody that you think about and you go, but I'm trying not to get caught in this. Well, we can't get rid of this guy because look how good he has been in this short span. I get all that. You have to look at the long-term health of the entire organization and go, does this one guy being moved to another team benefit us in the long run? Does it accelerate us getting better, or is keeping him and getting us better more quickly, more feasible for us? I would love it to be the latter and not the former, because I'm just kind of a fan of this guy, because we go back to when he first came up and he's out of college, basically right out of college, and he's throwing 103 miles an hour and nobody can touch him, and he gets hurt, and then he comes back and he's kind of redefined himself. He still can be that power pitcher, but he's developed over the pitches, and it's like you're not getting lefties like that.
Well, he's a pitcher, not a thrower, which is a huge difference right there. But yeah, I get what that's smart stuff, man. I'm with you too. That's my avenue. That's one of my avenues that I was talking about of, well, it's not like we have a huge sample size. And if someone gets really desperate and crazy, at the deadline, which crazy stuff happens, injuries happen, teams say to themselves, but to Brian's point, I don't know how much use he's going to get this year, moving forward, because he just, that he might be on extreme caution and limited shutdown, whatever, because of where he's at in this first year. So it would be we want this guy next year for our team.
Yeah,
obviously. And we want this in the stable already and, sell high, I guess. Those are some decisions that are going to have to be made. There's value. There is value right now. I mean, we're going to talk about Tommy Pham in a bit here with Sunday and everything, but Paul DeYoung, I mean, there are some guys that you might be able to package up and get whatever. I don't know and what that would materialize, but Sox will absolutely be selling, and teams will line up for anything at all.
So if you're the manager, if you're the general manager or the manager, Nick, how would you handle Garrett Crochet throughout the rest of the year? Let's assume that we don't trade him. Let's just put that out there. He's not going to be traded, and he's going to be on this club, and you want him to be on this club for a long time. How are you managing him? Are you skipping him maybe every other start? Are you you're putting the limits on it regardless of where he's at in the season? You just keep pitching once you get to whatever X amount of innings, you're done for the year. How would you manage it?
I mean, in a season like this, that is tricky. I mean, delicately. I mean, they let him. 103 pitches. I think it's good to get him to know like his battery life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, don't charge up the phone immediately. Let the phone realize how much battery it actually can run on, and then protect the life that way, if that made any sense whatsoever. But it made sense in my brain, in my avenue. But if you could find, you got to look at your day off calendar and, if you could skip a start here and there. But what does it really matter, though?
Yeah. What does it matter if he's pitching in August and September anyway?
It doesn't matter. It's like you did what we wanted you to do, guy. You showed us a ton. You showed yourself a ton. You put your body through something it's never been through. And so, like, in August and September, it's like that's all. It's irrelevant.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that. I would say, listen, let's not skip starts. Let's not do anything out of the ordinary until you hit that innings limit mark. And then we say, you know what, your offseason starts now. Start prepping for yourself for next year. Here's your offseason program that you're going to be in. And we want to get you from, whatever the innings is. We want to, you to go whatever more innings next year. So we have to start preparing you now to get in that state of mind for pitching, next year when we're hopefully not a 40-win team at that point. Again, I'm not expecting this team to go from where they're at now to all of a sudden contending. But again, left-handed pitchers that have this kind of stuff don't come around every day. And I know that there would be tantalizing offers out there. And if he gets traded, he gets traded. I hope that it's a great haul back and you're getting a lot of prospects and you're getting some pitching back, obviously, to kind of replenish what you're losing. But I'm more in the mode of you're going to this point. This is the stopping point. Your off season starts here and you move on to start prepping for next year when we can get you to the next milestone in your career, because we think that you can be the ace of this staff for a long, long time.
Yeah. It's Phil brought it up with Kopech. We've seen that purposely done or tried to be done. Kopech, I think, is a guy that's got a lot of issues going on, more than just health and arm, and there's stuff mentally happening. We have seen, or at least I have seen, out of the bullpen, I hate to say I'm not surprised with. Kopech could not throw strikes, was completely erratic. And they decided, you know what, we're not even going to try this starting thing anymore. We're going to go to the bullpen. He's ramped up his velocity, which is awesome. He's a sprinter, not a marathon runner. But if you can't find the strike zone, if you are completely inconsistent, I mean, he airmailed one. I think it was on Saturday. I mean, it was nowhere close to the strike zone, but that's what you've been getting from Kopech. You've been getting these just, whether he's giving up home runs or hitting guys or just it's meltdown after meltdown. So that was always my thing. Like that's cool. He's going to be a reliever now. And he's got some velocity and an arm, but you don't have control. What good are you?
Yeah.
That complicates the situation of, when you bring in a guy, and does he have to have a clear bases? Does it have to be against, a righty? Because if this guy can't just pitch in any situation as a reliever, because there's more things going on, then what's your value? And really, what is Kopech's value at a trade deadline right now?
I would say not much, other than, what his projections were, when he got here. It's like, listen, there's obviously stuff there. There's talent there. So if you're looking at it from a different organization, you're going, we can work with that. He's got a lot of tools in the toolbox that we can take, and we can amplify him to be something that was value to us. Obviously, the White Sox aren't able to do it in their organization, but we really see something there. And because we've done it with this guy and this guy and that guy and that guy 15 years ago, we really believe that, if he's in our organization with our program, we can do something with him. So I think there's still value there. I think there's too much talent and too much ceiling still with a Michael Kopech. I don't know why I still believe that, but I still think
you're a believer, man. You've got some of that Moncada stuff where you were.
Well, I did hang on way too long to you on Moncada. So yeah. I'm a victim of my own, hope in people. And maybe just hoping that the trade would have worked out for us. right? And
maybe he does a Ronaldo Lopez. He goes off to another team, and this cat's lab that is still kind of waiting for the real magic here. Some other team kind of figures it out, and he's a superstar. I don't know. Maybe it's an eyeglasses thing. Maybe it's LASIK. I don't know if it's that simple. I think there's a lot.
Well, you did at one point want him to go on an LSD trip through the desert.
I did say that, and I think he's the type of guy that does like those spirit journeys, would benefit from just kind of like just some sort of hallucinogen, supervised, of course, by medical professionals, and just to maybe unlock some doors of perception. It could be advantageous.
I do like to bring that up as much as I can. The fact that on record, you said the man should go on an LSD trip through the desert, supervised, of course.
Yeah.
And I like how you justify it with the supervision of injecting somebody with a hallucinogen.
Yeah, you don't want to. Well, I don't know his history with hallucinogens, but if he's a first time partaker, he's just going to want to have some people that he trusts around him. So
would it be like the Scarecrow from Batman, where he's got like the puff of smoke? Would it be that? And then would you like to see my mask type of thing? Would that be something you'd be into?
Well, that's your mind. Wherever your mind's at,
yeah.
usually will reveal that. And if that's where his mind is, and if he's in those worlds and those shadows, that's what will be brought forth. So hopefully he's more on the positive. And it's more of just psychedelic. It's just colors and rainbows and stuff. But again, if that does happen for him, I hope he reports back. Crochet's line on Saturday, 6 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, a walk, 8 strikeouts, 0 home runs, 68 of a career high, 103 pitches were for strikes. So Sunday, we're going to get to this fam stuff here. Hey, Oscar Colas back up with the team, Pat. He was 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts.
Oh, is that all?
Hey, at least he got some playing time, huh?
Yeah.
Grifol loves that guy. Destrini was on the mound. Rough, 4 innings, 3 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, strikeout, a home run. His ERA 9.74. Paul DeYoung with his 9th home run. I mean, he is your clubhouse leader, Pat, in home runs. Paul DeYoung at 9.
Didn't Paul DeYoung, if memory serves, because it's been a while since we talked, didn't he get pinch hit for in a situation where we could have tied the game against Baltimore, a couple games back? Am I imagining that? Like, how do you pinch hit for a guy that's leading your team in home runs?
Was it for Maldonado? Did they want his bat?
They brought in the kid and now it's been sent down because they liked his approach.
Dominic Fletcher?
I can't remember who it was. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent because it was like so long ago. Yeah. But the fact that Paul DeYoung is leading this team in home runs is almost insane when I say it out loud.
Well, Ramos was sent down, and there's an interesting quote by Grifol we'll get to in a second by that. But Sosa's back up, 2 for 7. So doing some Sosa type things. The real thing was in the 8th inning on Sunday. Things got really weird. It was a horrible inning, fundamental inning by the White Sox, which shouldn't be a surprise at all. Sox blew a major opportunity. Remillard trying to get to third on a pass ball that I don't think he really had any business. I mean, Contreras has got an arm. He's got an arm on him, and Remillard cut down. I believe he was the pinch runner too. Tommy Pham was the talk of the town, though. Even his post-game interview was great. So the Sox had an opportunity to tie, even take the lead. If you were watching, of course, on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. And Eddie Rodriguez is your third base coach, short, shallow fly ball in the outfield, and they're sending Tommy Pham. And Tommy Pham got nailed at the plate. It was a great throw, but I mean, he was so shallow. I mean, you got to make that throw. And there was some chirping, I think, between Contreras or maybe Milwaukee's dugout or something, and Tommy Pham was not happy, and it almost looked like he started to shadow box a little bit on the field, roaming around the infield. Clevenger came out and held his hand to calm him down, which was nice. And it just looked like Tommy Pham was ready to fight anybody. It felt like the frustration, the weight of everything. Why am I on this ship? Get me off of this ship.
Mm-hmm.
What is this madman doing, sending me, telling me to go on this? And it all kind of came out. He said it was a bad send. And then in his post game, he talks about how he like boxes in the off season and trains and gets ready just to really, if anybody needs to be effed up, man, you know where to find me pretty much. I mean, you've got to talk about a guy that was hot. I love the energy, man. I love the spark. I have a feeling he's going to be gone by the deadline. There's going to be teams that want that actually can win with a Tommy Pham, but from what I understand, some of Merkin's stuff that he puts out, he's mentoring younger guys. You see him as a positive, clubhouse guy. That's wonderful. That is something to build around. But I think teams are going to want a guy like Tommy Pham for a lot of different reasons. He has been fun to watch. Now, the ensuing play-by-play call by my man, John Schriffen. Oh boy, that was John Schriffen. I'm sorry, man, you lost me on that one. I think it was something about, we don't care how many L's we've got. Like, we're ready to swing and fight and punch. And it was a very slam ball kind of retort. I don't know if you listened to all of it, Pat, but that was a wild 8th inning.
Yeah, I listened. I saw the highlights on Twitter X today, and yeah, he really needs to just stop talking for a little while. Just call the game. Stop yelling or whatever he's doing. Who's he talking to?
Well, I think he's just trying to get. I don't know if he's getting himself.
We're not going to take that. We're not going to take that stuff from the Brewers. I don't care how many yells we have. Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah. I mean,
that was a tough one. I think he definitely got caught up in a moment. And he was doing, I think he was trying to get himself hyped up, or maybe, I don't know if he was maybe trying to hype Stone up, which I don't think has really helped. Stone is pretty even keeled. But that was tough. That was a bad send. That was bad everything. But yeah. Tommy Pham's reaction and then post game was wonderful. It was a good laugh in this type of season and at the end of that type of series.
It's just there's some things you have to take joy in, Nick, right? There's parts of the season you have to go, oh, that just is a relief. And I'm good with like saying, hey, it was a bad send. There's no reason why this team that is, again, supposed to be built on making good decisions, making good baseball IQ, when your organization, when your coaching staff can't make good IQ decisions on the field, man, what do you have to, when you have that lead, that is your leadership, right? As a player, it's like listen, there's not enough talent for us to win enough games. We can't overcome your mistakes too.
Absolutely.
Listen, you guys got to be better than this. You can't be doing this to us again. And I'll go back to Pedro pinch hitting for DeYoung, a couple games ago when you've got your home run hitter and you're pinch hitting him for a rookie that's been now sent down to the minor leagues when you could have tied the game. There's just stupid things like that can't be done when your team is so bereft of talent, right? Because there's teams out there that they can overcome a lot of that stuff because of the talent that's on the team, and you're not going to notice it. You're not going to notice as much when there's a mistake by a manager, or there's a switch that's made that shouldn't have been made. You're not going to notice it as much because it's the ultimate deodorant is the talent on the team.
Yeah.
So you can't. As a player, don't hold me accountable, Mr. Coach or Mr. Manager, for the things that I'm doing wrong.
It's just manager.
Just manager. When you can't do the basics properly. So, that's where, again, this whole team has been in a spiral of downhill for a long, long time. This is a year in which our first base coach didn't show up for an inning, right? So if you remember that fiasco, where's our first base coach? He's not even here.
He's looking at a spray chart or some sort of
taking a dumparoo. I mean, it's like, I don't know what's going on, but this is the crack crew that your manager has put out, and the manager was put in place by the people above him. So, crap rolls downhill and it's rolling, man. There's no stopping it either. It's all visqueened up, and it's got that lacquer on it, and it's just the crap is rolling, man.
The visuals. Ride them hard, put them away wet, as you would say.
No, not as I would say. That's a hawk.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
that's a hawk. It's a hawkaroo.
The great Hawk.
Yeah,
Carlson.
We are. We're over an hour, Pat. Are you okay to stay a little? This is kind of OT for us.
We're going overtime. We're going extra innings. We're playing California rules.
If everybody's okay with that, I think we'll go a little bit.
Well, we have to do the quote of the week.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to cover. So yeah, I'm good for a couple more minutes.
So I agree with you 100%. It's always about the margins with this team this year. They weren't going to win on talent, and it's those little things, the things that I kind of, bought into at the beginning of spring training. And okay, show me this. That could produce more wins. That could be a better brand of baseball. We'd like to see a better brand of baseball, especially from last year. But that stuff was just garbage. The eighth inning was horrible. And it's been happening more and more. Sox were outscored 22-11 this past weekend in Milwaukee. This is what Pedro had to say. I thought our guys battled the whole series. We were in position to win games. We didn't do it. Take the day off and get ready for the Cubs. How about that for Mr. Obsession? We give him so much crap, but
he's an easy target, though.
He is. He really is.
I don't mean to be a bully, but he's a moron.
Yeah. So, Ramos got sent down, and this is what he said about Ramos being optioned to AAA Charlotte recently. So he was in a really good spot. The last thing he said to us is, "I'll be back soon." Plus, he's getting promoted, believe it or not. He started the year in AA. And then came to the big leagues. So that's how Pedro looks at things, is if you go from, you were in AA and you went up to the major leagues. Okay, that's a promotion. Well, when you get demoted and you got on a AAA, he's like, hey, that's a promotion because, you never really spent time in AAA. So you went from AA and now you get to. So that's another thing that kind of I had to really, read that a couple times.
He does know how like basic math works, right? Like you're just adding, you're going up the ladder, and then you go down a rung. That's a subtraction, right? That's not a promotion when you get sent backwards. Just because you jumped a level doesn't mean that when you go back to the level that you maybe should have been in the first place, it does not mean that you just got a promotion. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It was a very that was a moronic comment. I should have saved
it. Did you throw in the believe it or not part, or did he really say believe it or not? Believe it or not.
I think I said believe it or not, just because sometimes I have to.
Okay.
I don't know.
So it's not a direct quote. It's Do
you want the direct quote?
No, I don't. I feel good enough with it.
Good. I'm glad you're satisfied. So yeah, that's his mentality. That's where I get worried. I've been worried, but that's when you really people say, well, why do we keep talking about Pedro Grifol? It's like new day, same stuff. This is what he says. He's giving us an insight into his thinking. He's giving us, a window, like the window is open. Like this is your mindset. And when the team is garbage, when the team is hot garbage, you have to go off of what is our leadership saying? What are their thoughts? What is the plan? And whether you believe it or not, they are saying that. They're putting that out there into the media to White Sox fans that Pedro Grifol has been pleading with recently to not give up, keep caring. Our owner wants to win more than anybody. Okay, well, when this leader of ours, Pedro Grifol, says these types of things, you have to comment on it because this is the person the White Sox are voluntarily keeping around. So yeah, I'm going to say something about it. It just writes itself.
Yeah, it does. And I love Luke, by the way. Luke, you are the man. You make me laugh. At least
a good one from Luke.
Twice, like an episode, just a big belly laugh. So thank you, Luke, for your comments. Can we promote Pedro to a bench coach with another team? That's fantastic. And then we can say that, it's not, you look at this as we fired him, but actually he got promoted to being a bench coach for another team. that's much better than us. So it's actually like a real promotion for him. He should feel happy that he just got a promotion.
It looks like Luis Robert Jr. Could be back soon, which again, just take your time, Luis Robert Jr. Nothing to see here. But if you're ready, great. Have some fun with the White Sox. Eloy maybe a month away, although I've sworn off talking about Eloy Jimenez, wasting time and minutes right now. It's not something that I want to do. I've done too many of that over the 100. This is episode 274. Do you realize how many minutes, Pat, we have probably talked about Eloy Jimenez of what he could be, what he might be if he's healthy, the potential? Wow, the thousands, maybe.
We wasted a lot of time there. I mean, we've in our lives, Nick, you and I have wasted a lot of time talking about this team, but we spent way too much time on that bum. And I'll call him a bum because I'm sorry, if you can't figure out how to keep your body right, there's got to be something wrong that you're doing. So yeah, I have no time for these people. The one and even Robert, I'm sorry. I'd love him to be a superstar and be here a long time, but I just don't trust the body anymore. It's going to eventually break down because these guys are all muscle and they're wound up tighter than a piano.
I love it when you analyze. I think there's a lot to that, man. Makata maybe after the All-Star break. I mean, just
who?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I kind of forget that he was, he's still kind of around, at least for a little bit longer. So Sox have this off day on Monday, and then this Crosstown Classic, Windy City Classic. Boy, it's got so many different names. In the middle of the week, I mean, a Tuesday-Wednesday series, which is odd on the north side. Man, it's going to be a rough one. Both teams scuffling. Sox obviously far more in their situation. This is Pedro on this Cubs-Sox rivalry. It was pretty cool last year. A lot of energy. There's not much love there, even though it's the same city, but it's a big-time rivalry. It's fun. It's good playoff atmosphere in the middle of the season. Something Pedro knows nothing about as a player or manager. But he's probably heard things. People have told him things.
That is on the card, like the little index card. He's at that taped to his desk, like say that the Cubs and the Sox is a real rivalry. It's playoff atmosphere. You have to say this, and you also have to say that Jerry is passionate about winning and he cares more than anybody else, and he knows baseball. Those are the two things that are on his desk. They're taped on those little 3x5 cards, and you can just go, oh, let's see. I said it once, so I got to put a little notch there. So as long as I get it 3 times in the year, I say one of these things, then I hit my quota for the year, and I should be rehired back as the manager.
Trey, yes, he was in the Royals organization. Thank you, Trey, for bringing that up. Pedro Grifol has seen a championship as a coach. Not as a manager, but
a world championship.
He is a champion. He's a world champion. He's definitely a world champion, which is weird to say out loud multiple times. But yeah, this Cubs Sox thing, again, we're no stranger to this. I've been to many games on the north side, watching the Sox and many on the south side against the Cubs. You want to talk about getting into some fights and some melees. There's been some that have gone down in the
you and I haven't been in a melee.
We haven't been in a melee, but there's been some close encounters. Too
Big
close.
Will. I remember Big Will.
Yeah,
there's a gentleman. If you see a guy that's like Nick and I, like combined, like width wise, as far as a human being, and he's got a jersey on that says Big Will.
His name was Big Will, and I was trying to pick a fight with him.
Barked at him the entire walkway down
the ramp, the entire walk from the 500 level all the way down the ramp. I am giving it to this guy named Big Will, who was like a one-man gang. And that was ill-advised with the consumption, with a lot of things. But thankfully, I had some people that were able to help me get out of that jam. But yeah, that was stupid on my part. But no love lost. I can't stand the Cubs. I'm sorry. I've said it before.
Did you take joy in their little bit of a fallback from grace?
Love it.
Lately?
Love it.
I have to. I'm sorry to be a meatball about it, but I don't give a shit right now. I'm so happy when they lose. It makes my day.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I thought I was past this. I really thought
I know
was.
it doesn't seem a little infantile,
I
but
don't care.
it was
I
either
really don't.
when I grew up, it was you picked a side. You were Sox, Cubs. We were multiple generation Sox fans. That's what we went with. You just disliked it. You didn't. You wanted them to fail. At least that's where but I do have friends in my life that are good Cubs fans, and we coexist. And so it's torn that way, but oh yeah, the way things are going for them, that's great.
Makes me happy. It brings me a lot of joy. And now that's really what I'm looking for is Cubs losses. And I don't care what people will have to say about it. And I should probably stay in my lane and not worry about them. I honestly, I don't care. It's like I'm looking at the scores from the night before, and if I see the Cubs lose to the Reds, it makes me happy. And that's what I'm going to take out of the season is joy.
So that's where you find you're happy right now. Is I would love for the Sox to just destroy the Cubs, just destroy them. They're scuffling. They should be in a much better situation than they are right now. We knew the Sox were going to be bad. Didn't realize it was going to be an absolute embarrassment. It's pathetic. I get it, but beat the Cubs. Really, that's where I'm at. Just win these 2 games in Wrigley. Oh, salt in the wound. Yes, please. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Inject it into my veins, Nick. That would be great, but I don't see that happening. But if it did, that'd be.
Let me have this now, though. Let me just dream of this and think about this, and then we'll deal with the reality.
I'll let you have it now.
Week, all right.
I'll let you have it right now.
Hey, I want to thank so many people jumped in tonight here on this Sunday night after a horrible series and a horrible season. We call this a fan-centric podcast because, look, we don't get too much into analytics and numbers, and it's just how Pat and I were, when we first met 20 plus years ago. We talk like just regular fans at the tavern, just about the team that we love, born into this fandom. And so thank you so much for jumping in and for passing this podcast along. Love the comments. So many of this every Sunday night. We try to do this live every Sunday. If you don't have an opportunity, catch the show on our YouTube channel, subscribe, like, do all that fun stuff. It means a lot. It really does. This hour and plus just flew by because, these are fan-centric conversations. This is what happens. And, the comments, the fans, the people that, come out, this fuel, and I love it. And we're all crazy. We're crazy for loving this team. We want something better. We deserve something better. But we just kind of have to almost stand united. Misery loves company, and this is Sox therapy. So I thank everybody so much as we get here to this Pedro Grifol quote of the week. This is a little nugget here on his love for Jerry Reinsdorf, and we'll leave it with this one. This was a pregame message that Grifol gave this past week. I feel fortunate that we work for an owner like Jerry. He's been in this game for 44, 45 years, and he's a baseball guy. I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to work for him and represent this uniform with them. I'm grateful to be here. That is pleading for his life as a baseball manager, Pedro.
Yeah. Please. You know what, though? If he was smart, he would do the George Costanza. He'd be bodysuit man. He'd be taking the World Series trophy, driving around the parking lot.
Bodysuit man.
Yeah. I mean, I would actively work to get fired. Like, listen, pay me just to go away. I can't handle this anymore. But he's so moronic that he's kissing ass to keep his job, which he could probably just go anywhere, get hired on by somebody else and be down the bench somewhere, make a decent living in the game and ride out his years. But he wants to try and do it this way, which again shows how stupid he is.
Yeah, there will be more to come, I'm sure, next week on the tales of Pedro Grifol, especially with this Cubs Sox series. But Pat, always a pleasure, buddy.
It was great. I love the extra innings, and cheers to everybody out there. The many of you that joined us live, and let's try and get some wins this week. Maybe we'll talk at least another win or two by the time we meet next week.
That would be nice, especially against those Cubs. Audio available absolutely everywhere. We're on Twitter X at Good Guys TB, and we've got a Facebook fan page, and of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel. Hey, for Pat Hester, I am Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.